About a few things that are some of the messages that are coming out when I did the shuffling earlier. And then we're going to shuffle out the spread for this month. And while we're doing that, just to save time, let's talk about some of your messages. The first thing that I'm seeing here is I feel like they're saying like offers and then counter offers. So it feels to me like many of you are in a position where you're dealing with somebody and you're communicating to them. They're giving you a bid and then you're giving them like a counter offer, and you're just like, the two of you are like going back and forth. And I feel like for some of you this might be property, like trying to sell a house and trying to get the best offers in or to get the best bid. And then for others, it's like selling your items, bartering and bargaining for a specific price, for a specific terms of the contract. And for others, I feel like you might be the mediator, you might be the go-between, such as like a consultant, a lawyer, to try to get both sides, both parties to agree. Okay, so I feel like a lot of your time is wasted in that avenue. Not so much that it's wasted, but it's like there's a lot of stalemate energy because you and the other party needs to come to an agreement. And it's hard for you to come to an agreement because both parties want, what they want for the specific price that they're asking for. And I'm also sensing this is a negotiation as well for some of you with children, like younger kids, telling them if you get really good grades for this year, then I'm going to give you, a car, and then trying to bargain with them just to motivate them to get better grades or to motivate them to do better in school or to motivate them to do things a specific way. And as a result of it, you have to give them something to give them that incentive. So like using objects, using things, using money as well to incentivize somebody to do something. And I want you to be very, very careful if you are doing that with children, because I feel like it's setting up a bad precedence, okay? Because like they're going to expect it in the future, and they're not going to do it if they don't have that incentive to do it well in the future. So you want to be really careful about where you stand as a parent and whether or not that's a good strategy with that child, okay? So let's just leave it at that, and we're just going to go into your reading here. So these are your prediction cards, and this is going to serve as your spiritual advice. And I'm going to go over this in a little bit, okay? So first off, we have here the Four of Wands. This is a house situation, and it's also a marriage structure as well. In certain situation, this can also stand for the physical dwelling, so such as the actual property, the estate planning, as well as combining family members like extended family members moving in to an environment. So I feel like if you are married and you're living with your partner, there might be people moving in or moving out of your space. And I usually think of it as the two of you taking a relationship to the next level, needing to expand where you're living because you're expecting children, and so you're trying to put your property on the market. So if you're selling property, this is kind of like all the maintenance, all the repairs, all the things that you are foreseeing that you're going to have to do in order to fix the property, in order to make it more marketable, in order to make it sell at a faster rate or at a desirable price. So I feel like the first message usually pertains to property. You're getting offers, you're getting counter offers. And I also feel like this is a card about, your property being worth a lot. So never settling for less when it comes to what you feel you need to recoup out of this property. So don't settle for less. Do the fixing up if necessary so that you can get more value out of it. Okay. So I feel like some of you too, you are adding new things, remodeling, adding new things to your house, tearing up the carpet is what I'm seeing. Installing something on the ground, such as even piping, plumbing, installing like an addition to the house. So remodeling, adding an outhouse or adding like an addition to the back of the house. I'm also feeling as well doing a lot of gardening, a lot of maintenance in the garden front, installing like sprinklers or having like some type of a patio or some type of a deck in the backyard environment. Okay, so I do see some unearthing, some excavation as well. And so this cluster deals heavily with relationships, and it also deals heavily as well with some type of an addition added to your household. So you and your partner could be also welcoming new people into the household, new children for those who are expecting, for couples who are expecting. And I'm also feeling as well in your relationship, the two of you are joining your assets together and you're thinking heavily about buying a property together or renting out a property together or trying to decide on a specific location so that you can start saving up money and start building a property. So it looks really, really good. And what's really interesting is I was just going to say, I feel like this month is very relationship oriented for many of you. And I feel like you kind of find yourselves in this cycle where you start out the year, very hopeful in a new relationship. And then by the mid of the year, that relationship that you kind of like idealize, it just didn't go the way that you want. So I feel like you're starting a relationship right now in a very hopeful situation, okay? And it doesn't have to go sour by the middle of the year, but I want you to don't be too starry-eyed. Look at the situation for what it is, examine it for what it truly is, and asking yourself if it can be built upon or is it just a pipe dream. So I feel like we need to be a little bit more realistic when it comes to our expectations of our partner. And if a relationship is new and it's just starting out, give it time to really play out and to grow organically before you put so much expectations into it. And I feel like Pisces, you might be in danger of encountering new relationships and thinking it's a soulmate connection. So you want to slow down a little bit. You want to, glean lessons from the past. How many times have I gotten into a relationship and thought that was the one? And then it turns out like, that wasn't the one. So you want to slow down a little bit, okay? And I feel like this is a good idea to do at the beginning of the year because I feel like many of you are in a relationship and it might be brand new for many of you. And for others, you've been together for quite some time. But either way, you're giving it too much credit. And I feel like it still needs to grow. Not that it won't work. It just needs to grow a little bit more. And you need to know your partner a little bit more. I feel like you're still a little bit starry-eyed, okay? Next up, we have here the King of Pentacles and the Five of Swords. So this is an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. This is somebody extending an offer to you. And usually when I see this person, it's somebody who's a little bit controlling. They can be very generous, but their gifts are usually, coming with strings attached. So I feel like on the other hand, I'm sensing like with this person, it's like on the one hand, on the other hand. So it's like they're not completely infallible. No one is. But I just feel like they want to give you an offer. They want you to team up with them. They want you to kind of like be on their side. They want to extend an offer to you. For some of you, this is a relationship partner. They're trying to kind of like control the relationship, okay? If it's a relationship partner, there has been a lot of strife, a lot of words being exchanged back and forth between you and this person. And so earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising. And if you've had a lot of like conflicts with this person and they're trying to reach out as to apologize, or they're trying to buy you gifts and trinkets to win you over, be very, very careful about motives and intentions. Okay, so don't be blindsided by the offer or by the gesture of them reaching out. I feel like it comes with strings attached. For others of you, I feel like this is somebody that wants to partner up with you, wants to start a business with you. They might see that you've been struggling for quite some time and they admire, your originality, your creativity. And so they really want you on board to work with them. if you have recently left a job, I feel like you will be shifting into like a collaborative environment with this earth sign, and you still need to approach it in a very, clear-headed manner. And you want to be careful about, where you tread and about where you stand and about whether or not this person is completely 100% professional, or are they giving you something with strings attached, okay? So either way, I'm feeling like if you have fallen on hard times, this person wants you to be a part of their team. They're trying to reach out and they want you on board, okay? So take that however you want. But if it's somebody that you don't trust, to begin with, you want to be a little bit careful that, they don't have hidden agendas and they don't have like strings attached, okay? So that's just what I'm seeing here, because it feels to me like there has been a lot of strife here. I'm also feeling as well, this could be like a relationship partner. For those of you who are divorced, you're still in the process of extracting your financial assets. You're still in the process of extracting your resources from one another. And I feel like this person is giving you like some type of an offer. Like, I'll keep the house, you keep the kids, or you keep the kids because I'll give you the house. So it's like a variation of, I do this and you do that. So it's like negotiations, but it's a lot more complicated. It's not just clean cut where it's you and them and whatever the resources are between the two of you. It's a little bit more convoluted, because there are multiple parties involved and multiple conditions need to be met before any party will agree to it. Okay, so it seems to me like it's ongoing. It could potentially drag out for the entire itemized that needs to be recouped, that needs to be like appraised to look at its true value. So I feel like it's a complicated situation, okay? Once again, we have here the Hangman and the Empress. And this is what I meant before about, things not moving as fast as you'd hope. Things not being able to extract yourself, not being able to, call the shots, not being able to exert the influence and the control in a situation that you're hoping for. The Empress is your energy. It's very prosperous. It's very abundant. It's somebody that, know where they stand. They speak with authority. They speak with passion, and they can also usually they exert a lot of influence in people's minds in the way that other people see them. But in this situation, I just feel like you have trouble moving things along the way that you want. You're a little bit frustrated. Things are stuck in limbo, and there's a lack of consensus or agreement with another person. I'm also feeling as well, for those of you with children, the Empress card is about, creativity and expansion, and it's about the homemaker. It's about somebody that nurtures and cares for other people. It's a big pregnancy vibe as well. For those of you who are expecting, I do feel, you want to make sure, go get checkup and just make sure that you try to stay put so that the pregnancy, it carries, okay? So that they say attaches properly or carries properly. So I feel like if you have had miscarriages in the past and you're pregnant right now, you want to be careful to make sure that it carries, that it stays intact. For those who are expecting, for those who are trying to get pregnant, you're trying to, you and your partner are trying. I feel like there's going to be a little bit of delay. This card, the not better for you to conceive, okay? It's a much better time. There's greater luck, greater expansion in the conception department, okay? Earlier, I mentioned as well, be very careful about incentivizing children to do things that they're supposed to do. So, for example, they create a mess, and then you don't want to, be harsh with them. And you're like, why don't you clean up your mess, and then I'll give you, money for doing your chores. You give them $10, $20 for a mess that they created. So really exercising, caution when you're dealing with younger children. Okay, and parenting is a very touchy topic, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but I feel like there are some issues here, and I feel like you need to put your foot down. You need to kind of look at things from a different perspective, and you need to understand as well, what am I trying to teach my children? Am I teaching them to be accountable? If they create a mess, they need to clean it of their own volition? Or am I giving them incentives to do something that they're supposed to do anyways? So really thinking about what values you're hoping to cultivate in your children, and how your actions reinforce those values, or how your actions kind of defy those values. Okay, so let's just leave it like that. Okay. I'm also feeling as well for those who are a little bit on the older end of the spectrum, where your children are not, babies anymore. They have flown the nest. I do feel this element about it's almost like you might be retired and you're just like, who am I going to stay with? Who am I going to live with? Are my kids going to be around for me? Are they sending me to a home, or are they, going to take care of me? Are they going to add me to their family and things like that? So I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty. You're kind of like stuck in suspension and limbo as to where you're going to stay, where you're going to go. So issues surrounding families, surrounding physical dwelling, surrounding housing environment, surrounding where you're staying, where you're moving to, where you're going, who's going to take care of the environment. All of these things are coming in as security issues. And I feel like they're going to be permeating, these issues will permeate the rest of the month, and you're going to be heavily thinking about them. Okay. It doesn't denote like anything is good or bad, because I feel like if you have grown children, they're trying to make room in their households for you. If you have younger children, you need to teach them personal accountability, because I feel like you might baby them a little bit too much. And I feel like sometimes it's easier for you to incentivize them to do the right thing, because you don't want to chastise them. You don't want to give them lectures. You don't want them to do something they don't want to do because you care about them. But at the same time, trying to figure out what you're trying to cultivate, what values you're trying to instill in them, and how your actions can reinforce those values. That's the most important thing. And I feel like things are done without questioning the motives behind them. Okay? The last cluster here is the Prince of Pentacles and the Four of Swords. The Prince of Pentacles, first of all, I'm feeling this might be a family situation. You have here an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. This is somebody within your household or somebody that you're physically living with. There has been some type of like start and stop communication between you and this person. The Four of Swords is about taking a break, taking a little bit of they want to say like a hiatus, stoppage in communication, not wanting to communicate with the other person because communication might have been very problematic in the past. I feel like with this person, if it's a relationship partner, you're taking a break from them, or you're hoping and praying that the relationship is going to get better. And I feel like it's the same energy where there has been a lot of conflict in the past, and you don't really want to engage in it. And I feel like this person is reaching out of their own goodwill, but it seems to me like it's like forced. It's like they're forced to reach out. They're forced to extend a helping hand, even though they might not want to. And I feel like they've got a lot of pride. They're very dignified. They're a little bit on the defensive end. And they're like, look at what I have here. I'm going to give this to you, but you need to meet me halfway. So I feel like they're not going 100% all the way to meet you where you're at. They're going to hold this, and they're going to hold their station, hold their position. So you have to come out of this state in order to meet them halfway. So I feel like you've got somebody that is not playing by your rules, and they want you to play by theirs, okay? Or at the minimum, they need you to meet them halfway. They need you to kind of like, let's agree to disagree, and let's meet each other halfway. I feel for some of you, this is children. For others, this is like a romantic relationship partner that you're kind of, you're trying to be friends with. And it's been really hard because they're very stubborn. They want things a specific way. They won't meet you where you are. And they have all these conditions. Whenever they want to do something with you, they have all of these stipulations, these conditions. And I feel like you have somebody that's setting very clear boundaries with you, and you think they're being petty. So you're just like, no, you need to come all the way here. I'm not going to meet you halfway. And so I feel like there is a very, very poor like energy of communication between you and this person. And it needs to be sorted out. Okay. Don't carry this into. So you have an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. And it's like somebody with strings attached or somebody that's drawing very clear boundaries with you. And they're going to be very stubborn about, what they want. So it's like my way or the highway. And I feel like you're hoping for this situation to change for the better. But I just feel like, they're going to do what they're going to do. So in terms of your spiritual advice, let me see what's in store for you. We have, first of all, the Hermit. And the Hermit is all about, heeding higher intuition, looking at a situation, a problem from a higher vantage point. Okay. And when we look at situations from a higher vantage point, it requires us to kind of like depersonalize it, not take things so personally, not being defensive. It requires us to kind of take ourselves, our ego, our needs and expectations out of that situation so that we can look at it objectively. Okay, so I feel like you're dealing with somebody who is very, very proud, who's very maternal or paternal, and they see you, like if it's a conflict with a parent, they see you kind of like as an extension of themselves. They feel like they can control you. They feel like they can tell you what to do. They feel like, you're a byproduct of them. And so they feel like they can, and it is within their right to be controlling. Likewise, if you have children, you see them as an extension of yourself. You can also be very controlling. And so, and I don't get that often for you guys, Pisces. You're not overly controlling. You're very, very loving and very giving. But I feel like one of the things we need to be careful about, first of all, is figuring out, where have I exerted too much control in the past? And it left the other person feeling really scared, really stuck, and really just disempowered, okay? And aiming to do things a little bit differently, because I feel like you might have had this in your past, but you're not aware of it. With the Eight of Swords, it's a situation where we're not really aware of what's happening around us. We know something is up, but we're keeping ourselves a little bit like in denial. And we're not really looking and facing the truth. The Hermit also points to a situation where if you've been keeping yourself stuck and you're also wondering, why is life not happening to me? Why am I just on the sideline of life and watching everything happen and just watching, from the sidelines and not being able to exert control over it? Or why is life happening to other people but not to me? I feel like you have to get yourself away from this stuck state and to start, finding passion, finding things that you love, and doing things that you love, finding things that can make your life a lot more enjoyable. So this means stepping out into the world, making connection with other people, having a healthy social life, bonding, communicating, forming these friendships with other people. This is a person that is generally very well liked, very popular. They care about other people. They care about, people on an individual level. And I feel like this is what you need to do in order for you to break out of this rut, in order for you to reconnect with other people, and in order for you to kind of like start feeling like you're living your life again, rather than just nibbling on the sidelines of your life or watching life happen to other people and wondering when it's going to happen for you. So I feel like this is a momentum inducing type of a month. And it's forcing you to step out of your comfort zone and do something differently. It's forcing you as well. It's showing you what opportunities are coming. So if you're constantly going to be like this, where you're not going to take up these offers are going to slip you by. So I feel like this is and so don't waste this year thinking about, what you need to do. Really get your hands dirty and getting out there and kind of living your life, okay? So I'm going to leave it at that, Pisces. I do hope that you found this reading helpful. Enjoy the rest of, this year. And I'll be back for the mid-month reading, okay? I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.